Hello and welcome to Special Edition. I'm your host, Craig Stevens. During this show, we'll take a look at the Guardian Ad Litem program. My guests today are Circuit Director Michelle Canaday and Judge James Martz, both of the 15th Judicial Circuit. Well, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, we're pleased to have you. Well, let me ask you right off the top, if I could, both of you, what important role does the Guardian Ad Litem program provide?
Well, the Guardian Ad Litem program here in Palm Beach County, we provide advocacy for kids. So kids who have been abused, abandoned, neglected, and are in foster care or in some sort of group care, we advocate for them. We have guardians that are volunteers that go out and meet with the kids, and they come to court and they talk to the judge about what they think is in the kid's best interest.
Okay. And Judge Martz, I'm sure you're on the receiving end of hearing all of this stuff. For the Guardian Ad Litem, is it helpful to have Guardian Ad Litems come in and represent these kids?
I don't think anybody could even measure how important it is for us as judges who have to be the trier of fact in cases of abuse, abandonment, and neglect, to have somebody whose sole responsibility is the best interest of the child. It's oftentimes in a dependency case we'll have as many as 10 lawyers at the table by the time everybody's represented, and yet there's only one lawyer in the room, one guardian ad litem in the room who are aligned to the best interests of the child only, with no other loyalties in the room. So it becomes an incredibly respected voice, and the voice that we truly learn to trust in not having any ulterior motives or anything other than wanting the child to be a success.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be vital in a situation like that. What are some of the statistics in our community that necessitate this program? And give us a little bit of insight on the history of the Ad Litem program.
Well, here in Palm Beach County, we have 1,700 kids who are in care. So those are kids that are somehow in the dependency system. So they've either been sheltered from their parents or they're still at home with their parents, but they're receiving services from the county and our child welfare agency. Okay. And the Guardian Ad Litem program itself, we have 1,200 kids that we actually serve. And of those 1,200 kids, we have about 340 kids who actually don't even have a Guardian Ad Litem now. We do have advocates for them. We have people who are on staff who are actually state employees, and then we also have some county employees that the county provides, and the county does provide us workspace we're in the courthouse, and so we do have workspace from the county, and we have of course, some kids are in foster homes. Other kids might be in group or specialized care. We might even have some kids who are in residential treatment where they're in a mental health facility.
I see.
And then we do have some kids who are actually at home with their parents, and those kids have been deemed able to stay home with their parents with services put in place. So they may have somebody who comes out to their house weekly to monitor them, to make sure that they're doing whatever services they need to do.
I see. How long has the Guardian Ad Litem program been around?
Well, basically in Florida, other programs in other states, so it's called CASA in other states, but here in Florida it's called the Guardian Ad Litem program. And we did start getting funding from the legislature in the 80s and early 90s. Okay. And it started out actually out as a pilot project to see if it would benefit kids here in the state of Florida, and they found that it did, so they did start funding it at that time. Of course, we've never been fully funded. We're still not fully funded by the legislature. We do try to get grant money from other places, and we're always working on grants. And we do have a nonprofit that also does help called Speak Up for Kids here. It's in Palm Beach County, and they do provide us some funding for kids too.
I see. Okay. Well, that's good to know. How would a nonprofit, are they able to raise money for you then? Or?
They are able to, of course, because we are actually a state agency.
Right.
Normally you can't fundraise, but the legislature allowed through statute to allow us to have a funding arm, which they do. Most of the stuff for kids is, for proms and things like that, and for activities or. Just yesterday, I got one of my social workers came in and asked for some money for formula. So we even have issues. We're providing necessities as well. So we do fundraise for that, and
that's good.
Yeah, it's very helpful, and the guardians come to us and ask us for they'll they come in and they fill out a form and they say, listen, my child needs new shoes. Of course, school just started, so I get a lot of requests for school supplies and things like that. Special things, we've had kids that have fundraised to go to Europe, so sometimes we'll have, Guardian funds for that, and then we also ask, them to contribute, and they end up fundraising and other options as well. And so we do a lot for kids here in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
We can always do more, but we do try to provide whatever they need.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's something you don't hear a lot about, I think as a general public for the most part. So how's the program structured within the court system, and how does that work?
We have statutory obligations for certain cases to assign a guardian ad litem depending on the circumstances that brought the case in.
Okay.
But for the most part, these are kids whose parents have been unable to put them in a safe and relatively successful environment. So as such, because they've been accused of some abandonment, neglect, or abuse, the system has stepped up, the Department of Children and Families has become involved. And what we usually find out in many of our serious cases are that this has gone on for a long time and gone unchecked. So we don't get a child who has been appropriately raised until that day that the Department of Children and Families stepped up. It's been going on for years, and oftentimes these kids have been at a loss for all of the basics that we generally assume go on in every child's life. So oftentimes the guardian ad litem becomes that voice, that presence that gets to provide the things like preparing a child for school, like Michelle said, preparing a child for peer interaction appropriately, preparing a child for the simple rules of society that you have to abide by to continue to get along.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they've been raised in environments that don't instill those same values and those same goals, and takes away from the child's likelihood of success in any type of an organized system.
Yeah, so does the guardian ad litem then kind of have a role of helping to, not really to raise the child, but to counsel the child then on certain issues as well as represent
They
them in
do.
court?
Our guardians are, these are volunteers. These are people who are in the community who have decided that they really want to make a difference in a child's life. So they may come, they come from all walks of life.
Yeah.
We have teachers, we have people in real estate, we have social workers, maybe retired social workers. We have lots of retired people who volunteer their time in all kinds of different aspects. And we have a huge diverse pool of guardians that come and take cases. And we ask them to go meet with the children, and they're required to meet with them monthly.
Okay.
They can meet with them as much as they want, but they have to meet with them at least monthly. They get to talk to them, get to know them. They ask them about how their school is and if they're being well cared for wherever they're at, because they may be placed with a grandparent or they could be placed in a foster home. We want to make sure that that they're getting the best care that they can, and by doing that, they come back and they come to court and they let the court know if the child needs therapy. Maybe the child is having trouble in school and they need a tutor. So we have all kinds of mechanisms so that they can get those things fulfilled for the kids.
Yeah.
Imagine a child's world so upside down as to be taken from their parents.
Right.
Now in a system, oftentimes with strangers, where they're placed not a relative, because oftentimes there aren't any, and they're now in a system where their whole world now, the only world they knew, which as much as we may know it was not a good environment, oftentimes the child doesn't know that. We've taken them out of that circumstance they were in, and now they have to have somebody that they can develop a trust and a bond with who can speak for them, because imagine on top of all of those trauma, to be brought in now to talk about it in front of your parents, the things that went wrong in your life or weren't going, you may not have even known, but now are being asked to expound on all the things in your life that have led to this moment in time where you no longer can live with your parent or parents.
Yeah.
So having a trusted person who is a confidant, who is someone that has nobody's other interests at heart but yours, is something that's very foreign to a lot of these kids.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, that would be difficult, and I don't often think about that fact that child is having to discuss this in front of an open court, in front of their parents. Yeah, that has to be painful.
Now, there are certain safeguards that we can employ, like doing an in-camera proceeding where the child can be in a separate room. But oftentimes we bring the guardian ad litem with us to sit in there with the child, to give the child comfort and have some confidence that this is not going to be a confrontational or an arduous process. It's merely hearing the child's side of what's going on in their life.
Yeah. Boy, that's terrific. Now, what are some of the examples of a typical court proceeding where the guardian would representative would be involved?
Well, our guardians do come to court hearings, so we have different court hearings, from shelter hearings and adjudication hearings and trials. The guardian, we try to assign a guardian as soon as possible, so as soon as a case comes in at shelter, sometimes we can get a guardian assigned immediately, and they may even participate in a mediation or the entire group would get together. That would be all Department of Children and Families and Children's Legal Service and Foster Children's Project, the Guardian Program, and then the defense attorneys and parents. They may all be at the same room, and we can sit down and discuss what things the parents might need to do to get their children back. So they do participate in that, and then they do participate in any court hearings that are going on. They are a party. They get to come to court and do that. They do make a huge difference when we're required by statute to have judicial reviews every 6 months, and we do ask the guardians come to those hearings as much as possible. They do file reports, easily done, the reports, and just to let the court know what's going on, if there's anything that the child needs, if the child wants particular things, or just to express their opinion, because sometimes kids don't feel comfortable in court, and they want to have whoever their guardian is to let the judges know exactly what it is that they want or what they need, and they will come in and testify during those hearings, and those are a little bit less formal hearings.
I see.
A lot of times it's celebrating the success of the child. The child's making progress in the situation the child's been placed in, and a lot of it due to the guardian litem or the other services that we've deployed in the kid's life. And then the guardian litem gets to be the one to come in and say, let me tell you about the grades this child's getting. Let me tell you about the attendance this child's got at school. Let me tell you about the friends that this child has made and what they're doing in the community, or their sports achievements. All those things that are real positive things that build self-esteem in a child that oftentimes the child didn't hear before they had this person standing up in this very important room speaking about their accomplishments. It's a great motivator.
Yeah, absolutely. Some positive reinforcement, and maybe for the first time.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah. Now, what kind of legal preparation or training is there for guardians?
So our guardians, once they apply, they can apply online, and once they apply, we interview them. We have to run background checks on everybody that works with children, and we do have a program. It's 30 hours. Some of it's online, and then some of it's in the classroom. And when you come to class, I teach part of the class, so you will see me. And I explain how the Guardian program works, what's expected of them. And then once they complete that 30 hours of training, they also have to do a mentoring portion of it. So they have a guardian at Litem who's a mentor to them. So they're able to go with them maybe on their first visit to see the child, so that it's not so frightening for the person who's the guardian at Litem. And I'll tell you, as a former guardian at Litem, years ago, that is a scary situation when you're going in and you're meeting a child and you're like, what do I say to this child? So we go over all of those things, and we go over what's expected of them, and what happens when there's a problem or they need help or they're unsure about something, what things that they should do, and they'll have mentors that will also help them. It's actually better, I think, now than it was 20 years ago when I did it.
Yeah, so it sounds like someone coming in to volunteer would
they get lots of training, and and then they also get continuing education training. So every month we usually have 1 or 2 classes that they can take. We try to send some at night, so that people who work, because we do have a lot of people who work who do volunteer, and so they complete 12 hours of continuing education every year as well.
Excellent, great. Well, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll learn more about the Guardian Ad Litem program with Michelle Canaday and Judge James Martz.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year, because she's in foster care, because her father abused her, and her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters, now in foster care, a group home, where he sleeps not on a bed, but on a temporary cot. He is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Get involved in the Guardian Ad Litem program at galpbc.org.
Welcome back to Special Edition. My guests today are Circuit Director Michelle Canaday and Judge James Martz, both of the 15th Judicial Circuit. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Well, for our viewers who just may be tuning in now, we're discussing the Palm Beach County Guardian Ad Litem program. And can you just kind of summarize the role of a Guardian Ad Litem?
Sure. The Guardian Ad Litem is a volunteer who advocates for kids who are in the dependency system. Those are kids who are in foster care, so kids who have been abused, abandoned, neglected by their parents. They come to court, and a Guardian Ad Litem is appointed by the judge.
Okay. Terrific. Now, can you tell us a little bit about some recent success stories of Guardian Ad Litem's involvement?
Sure. We have different activities that we get the guardians involved with their kids, and one of the things is during the holiday times we actually have toy drives to give to kids in foster care. And this year we actually put together a book on different experiences that guardians have so that we can promote, that they've done really good, that they do make a difference in children's lives. And so at this party that we had, I was talking to one of our guardians, and I was asking him, and could you please submit a story about what what your experience has been as a guardian? And he said, and how you've made a difference in a child's life. And he said, well, I don't really know that I made that much of a difference. My little guy's like 4 years old, and I really don't know that I've really made a difference. I said, well, tell me about, what you've been doing with him. And he says, well, he goes, like the last time I went to the daycare to see him, and I had a hard time because he's 4 and he really doesn't, he's not really active with me, and I have to try to get him to talk to me and stuff. And he says, the last time I was there, he was down at the end of the hallway, and he saw me at the end of the hallway, and he started running towards me, he's yelling my name, and he gave me a big hug, and I'm like, but you made a huge difference. You're making a difference in that child's life. And the little things, people don't realize how much, how one person can make such a difference in a child's life. I mean, I'm actually an example of that. I actually grew up in foster care in Wisconsin, and it made a huge impact on what I wanted to do with my life, and that is why I do what I do with the Guardian program. And making differences in kids' lives. Even when I was a guardian in Broward County, I also had lots of cases, and those cases are, I was really helpful and instrumental in returning a child to their family. The family's done a really good job in trying to get their child back. They did everything that they were asked to do, and going in there and advocating for the child. On that particular day, the judge actually returned the child based on testimony that I gave about what I had found. So every day people are making a difference. Guardians make differences in kids' lives.
Yeah, that's a powerful example. Wow. Judge Martz, does anything come to mind for you as far as a success story from your side of the bench?
I think one of the biggest things that works well within the system of dependency in Palm Beach County is that the Guardian Ad Litem oftentimes knows about resources that are available for the child with a particular need that I might not know, maybe even others in the courtroom are not aware of, and they'll bring it to the court's attention that the child has a particular specified need and a resource, because there's a lot of people telling us what the child needs. We need people that are telling us where we get it, which service it is. In Palm Beach County, we're very fortunate to have a lot of really well-meaning charities and services for kids, but keeping a handle on them all is a challenge.
Right.
And that's oftentimes the Guardian Ad Litem that'll speak up because they're well aware of how many programs and the types of programs that are available throughout the county for a special needs kid.
What ongoing responsibilities are expected of a person who's volunteering to be a guardian?
We would expect them to visit their child and to really try to build a good rapport with their child. I know we have a lot of teenagers that are in desperate need of Guardian Ad Litems, and they move a lot. Our kids move a lot, so we have needs for kids in other counties too, because we have kids here that are that were sheltered in Palm Beach County, but may be living in another county. So we're always asking guardians to become involved. That doesn't mean they have to drive to another county, but it means to do things that to check up on things, to make sure that they're getting their counseling, make sure they're getting their counseling on time, make sure that they're getting clothing vouchers and things that they need, and how their school is going. That means talking to therapists and talking to the school resource people to make sure that they're at grade level, and if they need tutoring, and letting the court know exactly what it is that they need.
I see. Yeah, so staying on top of the child's needs. And
Absolutely.
yeah, that makes sense.
Some of them are pretty simple things. The kids that we have in the system, oftentimes we tend to think that kids get raised like we do because it's our experience.
Yeah.
These kids aren't.
Right.
These kids oftentimes come in, and sometimes a guardian ad litem just coming out with maybe a hamburger, coming out just to sit down and talk to them, to read to a young child for a little bit and know that they're coming back again, something to look forward to.
I see.
In some kids' lives, that's the best they've had.
Right.
So that's that one trusted person who they know is going to be a brief respite from the chaos, the drama, the confusion, the things that are going on in that child's life.
Yeah.
And that guardian gets to come in and tell us how well that child's receiving that attention,
Yeah.
what's working and what's not, what we need more of, so they can point us in a direction as a court to try and help with that child's continued progress and success.
Yeah. Yeah, what a great program to have somebody that's, that their goal is to make sure that child is okay. Obviously the court, that's their goal, I would think, as well, but also you have to look at rights of parents and all that kind of stuff as well. So
Everybody else is duking it out. It's an adversarial system.
Yeah.
So we've got parents, attorneys in there that are standing their ground for the parents. We've got the attorneys that are sometimes assigned from legal aid in the Juvenile Advocacy Project or in the Foster Children's Project. We've got a lot of players, but everybody has a particular task that they're trying to achieve for their client. The Foster Children's Project and Juvenile Advocacy Project for the child, but they represent the child.
I see.
There's a unique nature to the Guardian Ad Litem program. They don't represent the child per se. If the child says, I want a pony, all right, the Guardian Ad Litem doesn't come in and say, a child wants a pony.
Right.
The Guardian Ad Litem's going to come in and say, well, the child says he'd like a pony,
Yeah.
but being he's living downtown in West Palm Beach in an apartment building, we're thinking maybe that's not the best
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
So it's that voice of reason, it's that voice of logic, it's the best interest of the child, not just the child's wishes.
Yeah.
Incredibly important distinction in this minutia that goes on between what your role is and what it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very easy to see how that could get lost
Yeah,
in a system like ours.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
now, can anyone be a guardian ad litem?
As long as they pass a background check and they do go through the training and they're a suitable person, absolutely anybody. You don't have to have any kind of background. You don't have to have had children. You didn't have to be a teacher. You could be any kind of background. We love to have as much voice as we can in diversity, and you never know, maybe the person's an engineer and they end up getting assigned to a kid who wants to be an engineer, who would be a
Right.
great mentoring experience for them.
Yeah.
So we do try to match kids with volunteers if we think
that's
there's
good.
some sort of interest. Like we do have volunteers that may have had kids who are autistic. So we might try to find them a child who's in the system that might be autistic because they have all this background, they know a lot of knowledge about that. So we do try to match that up.
That's
But
excellent.
as long as you have 8 to 10 hours that you'd like to devote every month to a child, advocating for them and speaking for them, you're welcome to apply.
That's excellent. And that doesn't seem like a lot, 8 to 10 hours.
If
a
you
month.
can see the face of a successful guardian ad litem, who oftentimes aren't even speaking by the time they've achieved the success, they'll sit in the back row, they'll watch as other people describe the successes of this child where the child is now. And you see on their face that they have tremendous pride in knowing that they were a significant factor that led to where that child is now. And just the pride that you can see them wearing on their face. They don't even have to talk to me. A lot of times they do, but there's a lot of times when I'll watch the guardian ad litem just watch that child speak to me directly, something sometimes that they hadn't done before,
Right.
and talk about their successes and their future plans and their optimistic view of their future. You'll see that guardian with a tremendous amount of pride sitting in the back of the room saying, I played a significant role in that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be rewarding.
It is.
So
It is.
excellent. Well, speaking of rewarding, How would you, or can you guys describe, one of your most rewarding experiences with the program?
Having interactions with the guardians and really talking to them about how they make a difference in kids' lives and encouraging them, because the system can be frustrating
Yeah.
at times, and you do see that it can be extended. Kids in foster care in Palm Beach County, the average time that they spend in care is 18 months. So that's a long period of time, and it is a court process, and there is due process, so there is a time frame in which things happen, and it's unfortunate. Kids, it should be done today. Things for kids should be done right now, but
Right.
that isn't always the way that it goes.
Yeah.
And so encouraging them, continuing to encourage them in advocating for their kids, working out problems, if there's situations that, because as a guardian at Litem, we actually work as a team model. So we have the guardian who's the volunteer, and then we have a social worker who's also a state employee, and then we have an attorney that also works with them. So getting them to work as a team is really, I like that aspect of the Guardian
Yeah.
program, working with the volunteers, because they make such a difference for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Judge, do you have something that comes to mind as far as rewarding experience working with the guardians?
I can tell you now, I don't even remember the guardian's name, but I can remember a guardian who was bound to determine this child was going to be a success. She saw in this child an intelligent child who did not have the background to be successful in school. And she got involved in that child's life and ensured that the child was in appropriate classes, was down meeting with the
Really?
guidance counselor, down meeting with the teachers on a regular basis until the child got up to speed, and then just kind of sat back and enjoyed the successes of a child who was more than capable but was never given the opportunity to be successful. And watching that happen is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's spectacular to see that kind of a transformation.
And she would not take no for an answer. This child
Is
was
that
going to be successful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
And what kind of an impact would you say, or what would you say is the most significant impact, just in a sentence or two, that a guardian could have on a child's life?
I think a guardian can actually completely change the direction a child's going in. I mean, you have kids who are teenagers who may not have anybody advocating for them, and just them spending time with that child and telling them that they can be successful, that they can be a productive person in society, that they can go to school, that they can go to college, because there are plenty of kids here that don't think they have the ability to go to college, and that's just a shame. And our guardians advocate that for them all the time, and build their self-esteem and their self-respect, and really get them on the right track.
Yeah. Judge, do you have anything to add to that?
They instill a value in the child that oftentimes the child has not had instilled in them in their life to that point. They talk about their ability to be successful in whatever they choose. And whether it be vocational, whether it be raising a family, whether it be any number of different opportunities. I think they get a role model of sorts,
Right.
a vision for the future that's not as bleak as the one they were taken from.
Right.
It's the if they can do it, I can do it type syndrome. And I think that's what our guardians at Litem instill in them.
Yeah, excellent. What a powerful way to make an impact on people's lives. For folks around who are listening and might want more information about how to be involved with this program, where can they find information on
They
the
can go to our Guardian website, which is galpbc.org, and they can call 355-6224
Okay.
and talk to somebody in our recruiting department, and they'll give them all the information that they need to apply to be a guardian at Litem. And if they just want information, they can do that. We also have Speak Up for Kids at speakupforkids.org. That also is our nonprofit that that uses funds for the Guardian Litem program.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Well, my guests today were Circuit Director Michelle Canaday and Judge James Martz, both of the 15th Judicial Court, and we've been talking about the Guardian Ad Litem program, and I hope you'll check out that website and get more information. And thank you for being with us. We hope you'll join us again next time for Special Edition.